Yes, hello all. This is the video which you have seen, Sudisha Counseling Center. And now I want to share few words about Manojagriti and Sudisha Center along with Dr. Geeta Challa ma'am. And where Manojagriti is an organization with 8 years of successful service track record, and it is a group of more than 200 dedicated and skilled psychologists and mental health professionals. And it was established with the vision to spread positive mental health awareness and prevention of mental health issues. And it also works with government and non-government organization, police department, education department, social welfare and tribal welfare department, along with engineering colleges also. And Sudisha Counseling Center is the unit of Manojagrati, a registered NGO since 2012. We provide counseling and training services. And even Manojagrati has set up a record, that is Indian Book of Record, Asia Book of Record, and Top 20 World Record of 2020. And now Dr. Geeta Challa, and she is an RCI certified psychologist, founder of Manojagrati, and she's certified of RE and CBT therapist from Albert Ellis Institute, New York, and works with government and non-government department with a direct and indirect coverage across 25 lakh students. And she was personally guided and appreciated by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam in Youth Empowerment Project Vision 2020. And hope you all like the video, which is Disha Counseling Center.
Yes, Sevita, shall we go with the today's
Yes.
PPT? Yes. So welcome you all. Good evening. Myself, Dr. Geeta Challa. Sneha This is an initiative to help the students of psychology from different universities who are doing their undergraduation and post-graduation and trying to do the education through distance mode, where the direct contact with the teachers is very less, very limited, and really the conceptual clarity is missing. So from Manojagriti team of counselors, myself with my 200 dedicated counselors, we thought of having this Sneha online free webinar for the students of psychology, taking up different concepts. So Sneha 1, the last time we spoke about counseling process and skills of counseling. And this time we are trying to talk. It's a very broad and huge subject to talk, theoretical approach to counseling. And we are trying to cover psychoanalytic approach and Adler's approach, Adlerian approach. Then we are trying to talk about person-centered, existential approach, Gestalt approach, rational emotive therapy, that is REBT, we call rational emotive behavior therapy. Then we also trying to talk about transactional analysis, behavior approach, and also reality therapy. See, we are trying to go with the chapters of IGNOU second year counseling psychology specialization, so that most of the counseling topics are covered. So today we are taking up the third chapter of unit 3 of the first 0 to 21, that to first block, third unit. So today's topic would be theoretical approaches to counseling. So last time we understood what is counseling and what is the procedure used, what are the steps, what are the different characters of a counselor. So today we'll start with each one of them. As we have time, limited time, 1 hour we dedicated for Sneha, I will try to throw light on each approach, very brief, but I assure you that we will be taking up each approach in detail in coming Sneha programs. Yeah. So let us start with psychoanalytic approach. So basically, which was founded by Sigmund Freud. It was in early 1900s. So basically the belief or the premise behind this approach is, Sigmund Freud analyzed that the root cause of behavior. He tried exploring the root cause for the present behavior, whatever. See, I am shouting on my husband, or a child is, or any person for that matter, not behaving properly or reacting in a different way or feeling depressed. So according to this psychoanalysis, the present behavior is definitely will have a root cause for that behavior in subconscious mind or unconscious mind, and the childhood experiences or the early life experiences will affect the current emotions or current behavior or current thought process. That is what is the whole approach talking about. So this Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis will focus more on the root cause. Root cause. Today, if someone is behaving in this particular way, he believes, or this approach or the practitioners which follow this will believe that there should be a root cause. There should be a root cause which is completely rooted in the unconscious mind or subconscious mind. So, yes, ma'am. Now, in psychoanalysis, we have the concepts of three concepts: id, ego, superego. So, id is like a demanding child. We always explain id as a demanding child, which is the natural drive, natural desire, natural instinct to satisfy the senses or satisfy the self. So it is like a demanding child which will ask for everything, which will ask for it want to watch movie, it want you to take to a movie, or eat in the restaurant, or jump from the sky, anything. It's like diving. So it wants pleasure, it is pleasure seeking. Ego is reality. Ego is reality, where this ego will be working on reality principle. It is like a police cop. Police cop will tell you this side, if you go, this is a right, and if you go this side, this is wrong. It's like, the ego will tell you this is right, this is wrong. And this ego is like an executive for the id, executive manager for the id. Whatever id wants, the ego will be trying to sort out, how I can satisfy my id, and trying to sort out. Then we have the superego. Superego is like a moral judge. This superego will be giving you the ideal things to do. This is what is good for you, this is not good for you. So this, see, always whenever we are in any situation, we have these three voices coming in, three states of mind working at parallel place. It will be telling you that do it, do it, do it. Ego will tell you that if you do this, it will happen, this will happen. If you do that, that will happen. And superego will tell you, no, it is not good for you, better you keep quiet, better you don't go there. See, three states are working in same time. Now, in psychoanalysis, the important concepts are ego defense mechanisms. So ego defense mechanisms, the first one is repression. Repression is like pushing your unwanted thoughts or unwanted ideas, unwanted desires into, inside your mind. It is, you're not allowing them to come to conscious mind. You're pushing them down. You don't want to have them in a conscious place, conscious plane. So this is repression. Repression is pushing them down. Then the second defense mechanism, we call it as reaction formation. Reaction formation is like, you have an idea, you have something, you have something in mind, but you will show it in a different, opposite way, in a different way. This is reaction formation. Then we have projection. Projection is, you have unwanted feeling or unwanted emotion, so you project on others. That is, you have a feeling, but you show it on others. If I have some feeling in me, I will try to point it out in others and show that you have it, but it is me having it. It's projection. Then we have regression. Regression is, if I am an adult and I face any stressful event, or sometimes some situation which happened wherein I'm confronted by people, confronted by situations, or something happened, what I do, I cannot face them. So I will just bounce back to my previous developmental stage. I'm an adult, but I behave like a child. I will shout, I will jump, I will cry, I will roll on the floor, which is not suitable for my age. But I'm doing it to, defend myself. I have to protect myself. This is called regression. Regression is pattern which takes you back. Then we have sublimation. Sublimation is like diversion of your instincts into other way. For example, if someone is having a sexual desire which is on someone or which is not accepted by the society, so that urge or that desire will be sent or converted or diverted into other behavior which is accepted by people. For example, someone having again I repeat this, and a desire. So they will, draw the pictures of beautiful women. They project, they draw, and they create a beautiful piece. So now, this is called sublimation. Then we have denial. What is denial? Denial is actually not accepting something. See, something happened and I don't want to accept it. That's a truth. It happened, but still I am not accepting it. I say that, no, it doesn't happen. I don't accept it at all. This is denial. Completely obvious truth. It is a truth and it's a fact. You know that it's a fact, but still you don't want to accept it. So you use the, denial. Then we have one more, defense mechanism, rationalization. Rationalization is, it is the substitution of a safe and reasonable explanation. I did a mistake, but I use some rational idea or rational explanation for my behavior. Because I want to defend myself, I want to safeguard myself. That is rationalization. Adding some rational idea, rational, reason for my behavior, which is wrong, which is not, accepted by people. Then we have displacement. Beautiful. Displacement is actually, in Telugu we call, we say, Attamidi Kopam Dutta. It means when you have, emotion on someone, you show it on others. Someone is stressed out in the office and someone is not having a conflict relationship in the office with the boss, and boss is shouting on him and a lot of stress in the office, he will come to home and he will throw it on the family member, maybe wife or someone or children, anybody. This is called displacement. So taking out your frustration, taking out your feelings on others. Then we have intellectualization. Intellectualization is very beautiful. When we are into a stressful situation, or when we are into a trauma or any situation which is not conducive, we try to understand the intellectual cognitive aspects of it and try to understand it very smartly. In that situation, we are not emotional. We use our intellect to understand the phenomena, and we are not attaching any emotion to it, so that I'm not feeling bad for it. I'll give you a beautiful example for this. Some family member diagnosed with cancer, and I'm not in a position to accept it. So I'm not attaching any feeling to it or any emotion to it. And I'm trying to be very intellectually asking, yes, what is chemo and what happens after this and how many people will, will survive? What is this ratio, that ratio? So this is what, people ask. So there is one question from someone. Let me answer before I go to the next slide. Difference between projection and displacement. It's beautiful. Projection is, I am having low confidence. I'm having low self-esteem, not able to face people or fear of something, or not able to face people, and I'm feeling low confident. But I will come and say that I will show that I will talk to my brother or sister and say that I see a lot of low confidence in you. I see you behaving very not confident in the class. So I am having that, but I'm projecting in others. This is what happens in between the couple. Couple generally, husband will project his backlogs, his weakness in the wife. Wife will project in the husband. This is projection. But displacement is, if I am angry with my boss, I will go and show my anger on my daughter or son. This is, I get the emotion from this place and put it on some other place. I'm not showing directly to that person. That's a difference. Yes, thank you. Next slide. So now we'll move on to the next one. That is all about the psychoanalysis, and then next comes the Adlerian. So this is basically this approach view the world from the client's perspective, client's frame of reference. Because for me, the world is different as a therapist, but for my client, the world may be different. So how the life is in reality is not important for the individual, for the client, because his view, his frame of reference about the world is what he accepts. So in this, what is a basic premise or basic belief is the client will have their own frame of reference. So the basic aim of this approach is, if someone is having unrealistic or not rational or not attainable goals, so the counselor will lead him or help him to go in a right path. Understand that this is not attainable. This is not possible. The aspirations are very high. So if I'm having an unattainable goal and I think that I can achieve, I'm very superior. I'm superior. Superiority is there in me. I think that everything I can do. Nothing is impossible. But if I'm not able to attain, what happens to me? I will get into different problems. Maybe I become depressed, or I become suicidal. I behave very, differently. So this approach is basically the frame of reference, how the client will look the reality, away from the reality. His view of the world is considered. And whenever the client is moving towards a goal which is unattainable, which is not possible, and he thinks that, yeah, it is possible. No, reality is different. Your world is different. Your view is different. So this is what is Adlerian approach. Yeah, right. So now some more details are given. So what happens in this therapy? What actually is done in this therapy? Basically, the counselor will help the client to develop a healthy lifestyle and also a social interest or a good relationship, or a very, the counselor will analyze the client's lifestyle and see where he's going wrong, and interpretation of the whole lifestyle will be done. And finally, the reorientation or restructuring of the lifestyle will be done by the counselor. That is the last two words. Please make a note of it, all the counselors or students of psychology. The reorientation or re-education of the clients about their own lifestyle will be done. That is the beauty of this therapy. Yeah. So now, okay. So some more questions, some more techniques are given here. Let me just take through, because I cannot go into the details of each technique, but I will try to tell you, the names of the techniques. See, the first And foremost technique is confrontation. Confrontation is if someone is there is no logic and he want to do two things without any logic. I want to go to abroad. I also want to, take care of my parents. So confrontation is asking him, see, you want to go there and also you want to do this. What is going on? What is it you want to do? This is what is confronting the behavior of a client, or confrontation of the thoughts of a person, or confronting the emotions of a person. This is confrontation. Then we have asking questions. Asking questions is sometimes, when you ask a question, when you put a question, the client start thinking. So if someone is trying to, blame a situation that somebody is not cooperating with me, somebody is not really, good with me, then the counselor will ask how differently you can approach them, how differently you can, talk to them, what difference you want to bring in your relationship. So this sort of probing questions will help the client to get into the reality. Then encouragement is there. As if, acting as if is like, if you become this, then what? Or if you become, what you want to become, if you become that, then what? If you don't become, then what? Something like this. Okay. Then task setting, that is attainable goals and, fixing a timetable, trying to make them understand, different tasks to be done in in 1 day, 1 year, 1 month, that complete, timetable and, setting task for time for task, all those settings are done, right? So like this, we have so many, like catching oneself, push buttons. So there's like goes on and on and on. Okay, chalo. We have some other approaches. I'm just moving forward. Yes, stop here. Now, the third one, we call it as person-centered approach. The person-centered approach is like, is founded by Carl Rogers in 1940. So he believed that people have the capacity and the right to move towards self-actualization. His belief is that everyone is capable. Everyone is born with capacity. And people are rational. See, sometimes we become irrational, but actually people are rational. And realistic also. People are not realistic. Sometimes we become non-realistic, but he believed that we are realistic, we move forward in life, and also we are rational beings. So when a person is into some negative situation or irrational beliefs or thinking differently, this therapy will bring him back to rational thinking, bring him back to normal way of behaving, bring him back to move forward in life, not get stagnant in one place. So person-centered therapy or client-centered therapy or Rogerian approach, basically the three pillars of it, we call them as three basic pillars of this are unconditional positive regard. That is, whatever be the client situation, the counselor is like unconditional. I am okay with everything. Whatever you are, I accept you as you are. Unconditional positive regard. Then empathetic understanding. That is, the counselor will put himself in others' place. Empathetical understanding. Understand the emotions, identify emotions, and see how the client is feeling in particular situation. Then we have the congruence. Congruence. Last time someone asked me, one student, congruence is like genuine. Be genuine with the client. You cannot make, drama with the client. You should be very genuine enough about your emotions and the client's emotions and the process and the outcomes, everything. So these three are very important. The basic pillars or three pillars of Rogerian therapy are unconditional positive regard, empathetic understanding, and congruence. And we have some more information about this. So there are 6 core conditions given by the Rogerian Carl Rogers. The 6 core conditions are given like there should be 2 people, and there should be the client should be in the incongruence. The counselor should be in the congruence, and unconditional positive regard should be shown or seen between the relationship. And the counselor should understand the client's frame of reference, not from your frame of reference. And the communication should be empathetic and also with the positive regard. So these are the 6 basic, core conditions for the person-centered therapy. So how the counselor will help the client? Basically, there are many skills which we use in the Rogerian therapy or Rogerian approach. Some of them are given here: active listening, and passive listening. Then reflection of thoughts and feelings. Reflection of thoughts and feelings. May I ask Sevita, are you there? Can you speak to me as a client?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. Just come with some issue, with some emotions.
Okay. Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah, Sevita, how I can help you?
Ma'am, nowadays I'm feeling very bored, ma'am. Bored and bit lazy. No concentration on anything.
Okay. So I heard you telling that you are feeling very bored.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Can you tell me a bit more about it?
Yeah, I'm not getting any interest in doing any work, ma'am, studying or anything. But at the end of the day, I'm feeling very sad that I wasted my whole day.
Okay. So I understood that you are thinking of doing something and ending up not doing and feeling guilty about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you so much. See, this is what is called reflection of thoughts and reflection of feelings. So this is what is done in the person-centered or Rogerian therapy. Then sometimes I ask, Sevita, I heard you telling that you wanted to do many things and ending up not doing and feeling guilty. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So sometimes it may be yes, sometimes it may be no. So the counselor will get clarification for herself and sometimes give clarification to the client also, some moments. Then summarizing, like, yeah, Sevita, we were speaking about your inability to focus on things, and we were talking about your feeling of guilt, and we were also talking about your feeling of lethargy and bored today. And next session we'll try to focus on dash. So this is what is like, I summarize the whole thing so that we understand what has been done in the therapy, right? Then confrontations of contradictions. See, Sevita, one side you are telling that you want to focus, you want to achieve your goals, and other end you are telling me that you are feeling very bored, lethargy, and you're not doing anything. See, there is a contradiction between the way what you're telling and what you're doing. What is actually happening in your life? This is what is confrontation. So I'm trying to ask the client between two things and getting some insight for the client. Okay. So yeah, then this again we take the client to get into her own self and get some insight into her problem. Okay. Next slide. This is all about the Rogerian therapy, person-centered therapy. Now, existential approach. This looks little philosophical, existential approach, but when you understand, it's beautiful. So this existential approach is founded or introduced by Rollo May, and this is basically It is not about someone who come with an issue and you are curing them, but it is more about helping a client to search for a meaningful life in some values in their life. So it's not about it's not about reflecting. It's more about helping the client move in a direction where they find their own values in life. And basically, every person's life is purposeful. Everybody have some values for their life. Everybody will have some some conditions for life, some values for life, some the way they look at their life. So all these things are there. Only the role of counselor is making the client understand that the life is valuable, the life is purposeful. Don't feel empty, don't feel lonely. You're not lonely, you're not empty. Your life is meaningful. Your life is purposeful. That's what is a client or counselor telling the client. Okay? Yeah. So here, what is our goal? What we do as a counselor, what we do in the session. See, basically, we help the client to be truthful to self. Sometimes the people will fool themselves. They don't really answer themselves in life. So the counselor will create an environment where the client will be very truthful to self, talk to self, and tell self or travel inside self and understand what I am. Why I am here? What is the purpose of my life? Why I am existing actually? What is the meaning of my existence? And whatever decisions I took in my past, let me take the responsibility because it's my responsibility. My decisions are my responsibility. And they also understand the reasons for the particular behavior. They try to look for their root cause, examine roots, where from this is happening, where from these behaviors are coming, and how I can cope it up, how I can come out of this. And this existential therapy will help a client to be in the present life and enjoy every moment of life. That's a whole objective of this existential approach. Okay, right. 10 techniques. There are so many other techniques. There are, different techniques used. So it is again, there are so many, but let me just tell you one thing, that the relationship of the counselor and the client should be very strong. The rapport building should be done properly. And the trust should be built between both of them. Then only the counselor can do some confrontation or some, give some meaning, insight into the client's problem. So there should be a strong, trustworthy relationship between the client and the counselor. Okay, right. Next, coming up is Gestalt approach. This approach actually is founded in 1951 by Fritz Perls, and this is a German word. This is a German word. The meaning is whole. Meaning is whole. It's a German word, derived from a German word. So this approach believes or tell that the person is a whole being. The person is whole. And now, whatever you are today, this is you. It's a person, and whatever is your feeling, whatever is your thoughts, whatever are your body sensations right now, and how you are acting right now, these things are considered. This is you. It's a person, and whatever is your feeling, whatever are your body sensations right now, and how you are acting right now, these things are considered. 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 These These things are considered, and the therapy is given based on not on the past. Past is not considered in this therapy. It is only right now. Here and now conditions are considered, and your feelings, thoughts, body sensations, and your actions are actually used to help the client. Okay, right. Now comes the next one, REBT. REBT means rational emotive behavior therapy. Yes. Somebody is asking in which issues existential approach can be used. Let me tell you, basically the adolescents who are having no goal in life, not motivated, and low motivation, and deviation from the main role, and the adults also who are completely away from the family, neglecting everything and neglecting self, and becoming depressed, upset with the world. Those sort of people will definitely get benefit about with the existential therapy, where you show the meaning of life and also where you show the purpose of life for them. Okay, right. So now coming back to rational emotive behavior therapy, which is founded and developed by Dr. Albert Ellis, 1955. He was an American psychologist. Okay, so rational emotive behavior therapy, here the basic ABC model is used. Next slide. ABC model is basically focused in this, where can we answer the questions at the end, please? Because I'm getting confused with the present approach and the previous approach. Please keep your questions with you. I'll answer at the end. We'll have 10 minutes of time for question answers. So rational emotive behavior therapy is based on the 3 letters, A, B, C. A stands for the activating event, and B stands for the belief. So the beliefs can be irrational, the beliefs can be rational. The client come with irrational belief and go with the rational belief. So that is B. Then we have C. C is consequence. So C, actually we look in consequence. We divide consequence into 2 forms. One is behavioral consequence and the other one is emotional consequence. So A, B, C are basic units of basic contents of this REBT. Now there are other things which are involved in this. Next slide. Yes, Sevita, can we have the next slide? Yeah, thank you.
Can you see, ma'am?
So,
Techniques of REBT.
Right. So now I just wanted you to understand that A is the activating event, or the event which triggered the or the activating event where the client felt those emotions or those beliefs were there in that particular event. And B is the person's belief. It can be rational, and basically it is irrational, and the counselor will help him to form or develop rational belief by the time he go out of the session. And see, as I said, there are 2 things: consequences, emotional consequence and behavioral consequence. D is nothing but disputation technique. Disputation technique is, see, if I am having a belief that I should be perfect mother, otherwise I'm good for nothing. It's my irrational belief. I should be good as a mother. If I am not playing my role as a mother perfectly, I'm good for nothing as a person. So this is my belief. So D is disputation intervention, disputation technique, where the counselor will break that belief that I am good for nothing if I am not a good mother, is broken by disputation technique. And effective after philosophy, effective philosophy is that irrational belief will come into my mind, or rational belief is given by the counselor, that if I'm a good mother, if I'm playing my role perfectly as a mother, or if I'm not playing my role as a mother, that doesn't affect me as a person. That doesn't affect me as a person. I'm always good enough. So this is the rational belief which is developed, or which is taught, or which will come up in the process. And F is new set of feelings. See, basically, when I'm thinking that I'm not a good mother, I was feeling guilty. I was feeling sad. I was feeling depressed. But after the therapy, the new feeling is, yes, if I'm not playing the role as a mother, let me regret for that. Let me regret for my non-ability to do something for my son. But guilty is a very, very, very unhealthy emotion. This is what is a new set of feelings. Okay. In coming sessions, we will have a full-length session on REBT. That 1 hour we will dedicate for that. Okay. Chalo. Now we come to the transaction analysis. Transaction analysis is again, it is a cognitive theory formulated by Eric Berne in 1960. So transaction analysis, generally called as TA. We call it as TA, transaction analysis. So transaction analysis, the Eric Berne believed that majority of our life experiences are recorded in our subconscious mind. Whatever we experience in childhood, whatever experience in the school, in family, with the parents, with the friends, with the uncle, all those things are recorded in our minds. And they will become a part of our behavior. How I am behaving today, how I am talking today, what I am doing today is a product of my experiences in the past. Which are, it is like, they are recorded in my mind. That is what is TA believes in. Transaction analysis, Eric Berne said. So there is a beautiful 3 things I will, some more information I'll try to give you here. So what is done is TA. Next slide, I will come back actually. So TA, they explain 3 ego states: parent ego, child ego, adult ego. So parent ego doesn't mean that it is being a parent and parents will have this ego state. No, normally every individual will have these 3 ego states in mind. Parent ego, again, there are 2 types, where there is like, authoritative parent, where, sort of you do this, that sort of parent is there. And nurturing parent is also there. Overprotective, nurturing parent ego is also there in our minds. Then in the child also, sometimes we have a child who is very free, and sometimes we have the child who is little tough to handle. So parent ego, child ego, and adult ego. Adult ego is like very rational. When you are in the adult ego, you think rational, you behave rational, you talk rational. But when you are in the child ego, you say, no, ma'am, I want, ma'am. This is a child ego. My child ego is talking now. And suddenly my parent ego will come. No answers, nothing. Don't ask me questions in between. You will ask only questions in the end. That is my parent ego came out. But if I'm a nurturing parent, I will say, okay, ma, whenever you ask question, I will answer your question. You disturb me many time in the process, I will answer you. This is a parent ego, but I'm a permissive parent. I'm a very overprotective parent, or I'm very, nurturing parent. We call it as nurturing parent. So a person can operate in any stage. Okay, now go back. So here what happens? Transaction analysis may we do the structure analysis. Structural analysis is like what is happening between 2 people. Now I am speaking, you people are listening. So what is happening? Who is operating here? Someone who is asking questions, somebody suddenly asking questions. He is a free child. She is a free child. You are operating in a free child mode. You want to ask question, you ask. That's it. So you are a free child mode. You are listening to me happily, enjoying the lecture. But this side, I am a very firm parent. I said, no, I'm not giving answer. I'll give you answer at the end only. But sometimes I may answer also. So this is what is structural analysis between you and me. This is what is, we identify which ego state people are working. Okay. So, structural analysis. Sorry, I take my word back. Structural analysis is within the person. Within the person, I am understanding my ego states. Transaction analysis is what is happening between two people, you and me, me and others. Then we have game analysis. Game analysis is there is a transaction between you, me, and finally I'm feeling sad for the topic. I'm feeling sad for the session. So whatever. Then we have script analysis. Script analysis is understanding the person's life plan. Means the client comes and sit in front of you, and you will ask the client to narrate the story of life. The whole life is narrated in particular manner, having all experiences in mind. Now, after narration of the whole story, reconstruction or the script is rewritten by the client again. You ask the client to look back into the life with a different perspective, and re-script is written in a different format. So this is what is called script analysis. Okay. So this is transaction analysis is actually the analysis of the ego states of the person. Based on that, there are, techniques like games, scripts, transaction analysis, all these things are done. Okay? Yeah. Then we have the final one, behavioral approach. This behavioral approach is based on the conditions, conditioning, operant condition, classical condition, and the behaviors are learned through experiences. So if we find a behavior which is not functional, which is not helping, which is not expected, so that sort of behaviors are identified, analyzed, and we actually set a goal to change the behavior. So basically behavioral therapy is generally used for the clients who need behavior change. Someone is smoking, someone is drinking, someone is addicted, someone have phobia, someone have exam anxiety, someone have social anxiety. So all this is like behaviors, patterns of behaviors are developed over a period of time. So we use the behavior therapy to transform the client's behavior into a particular other way. So there are different techniques again used for the behavior approach. We use rewards, punishments, modeling, role modeling. Number of techniques are used. I think some of them are shown in the next slide. Yeah, we skip this, already done. Next slide. Very good. So there are different techniques we use, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, or shaping the behavior, or extinction. Extinction is removing the behavior and unlearning the behavior, or generalizations, discriminations, or aversive therapy. All these things are systematic desensitization. All these things comes into behavioral approach. And BT is behavior therapy. Now CBT is cognitive behavior approach. CBT is the belief that the thoughts, the thinking process, the root, the core beliefs will determine your behavior. CBT is the thought process, the core beliefs of a person, the cognition of a person will decide or will determine the behavior of the person. So in this, the negative beliefs or maladaptive beliefs are challenged or reframed, and the new set of positive thinking or reframed thinking or affirmations will help the client to behave in a proper way. So challenging beliefs or dysfunctional thinking or cognitive distortions are found out and changed into a proper way of rational or proper thinking. Chalo? So this is called BT. Now we have the one more thing, reality therapy. Reality therapy is developed by the psychiatrist William Grasser. So this is basically evaluating or their own behavior. The client will evaluate their own behavior and understand his own needs and react effectively or feel responsible. Because my life is my choice, your life is your choice. Today I'm sitting here and talking to you people through Sneha program. This is my choice. I can enjoy and sit in a movie. But I took a choice to be with you people, students of psychology, talk something. So this reality therapy is like every client have a choice of life. This is based on the choice therapy, choice theory. So when we take choices, wrong choices, our life will become misery. When we take a right choice, our life will be happy. So basically human beings have two needs, basic needs. Number one is I should be loved by everybody. I should love everybody and people should love me. I should love people and people should love me. That is the first one. And second one is I should feel worthy. I should feel worthy means I should have self-esteem. I should have some value for myself. So next slide. So people have some needs. We have physiological needs. Physiological needs is like you need some food, rest, water. All those things are automatically happening. You feel hungry, you eat something. You feel thirst, you drink water. You feel restless, you sleep. So these are physiological needs. Then we have psychological needs. In reality therapy, we look into all these things, which one is not met for the client. So psychological needs is like I should belong to some place, some group. I should be one in my family. I should be one in my friends group. Belongingness is a need. And I should have power. Power means, again, I should have some recognition. People should give me importance. I should have some esteem. That is power. Need for power. And need for freedom. If I want to do something, go to movie, I should have I should take my decision and go for movie. If I want to eat biryani, I should eat it. So my decision should be in my hands. That is freedom. Then need for fun. Everybody wants some relaxation in life. Everybody wants some laughter in life. Everybody wants some joy in life. If that is missing, if these power of need for belonging, need for power, need for freedom, need for fun are not met, the person will be into depression, the person will be into anxiety, the person will be into some other mental health problem. Okay, right. So what do we do in reality therapy? Basically, this approach is based on the premise or principle that every client must learn to be responsible for their own behavior. I should be responsible for my own behavior. It's my choice to sit here. So I should take the responsibility for my behavior. And every client, the client is made to understand what they want in life. What is their goal? What is their desire? What do they want in life? And and I want something in my life. I want to achieve my goal. So I feel responsible to reach my goal. You are made responsible for setting your goal and also reaching the goal. So sometimes what happens, my life is not happy. I'm not happy. I am little depressed because my world become very small. I'm not with people. I'm not happy with people. I'm not getting connected with people. So this therapy will help the client to get connected with the people or reconnect with the old people so that the world where she's living becomes quality or happy. And also finally, the client is taught to behave very effectively. Very effective. Okay. So I think, yes. So teaching, humor, confrontation, role play, involvement, contracts, all these things are some of the techniques which are used in the reality therapy, where we make the client responsible for her behavior, responsible for her goals, and responsible for action plan to reach the goal. So this is what is reality therapy. Okay? Yeah. So as we again, last time also I showed this questions. So in in this 021 counseling psychology, frequently asked questions are: what is the difference between guidance and counseling? Solar, characteristics of counselor, counseling versus psychotherapy, defense mechanisms, client's qualities, qualities of a counselor, steps in counseling, and again Solar is repeated. Then what is a termination process and ethical principles in counseling? These are the things, questions which are asked, frequently asked from the Sneha 1. We had a video on Sneha 1 which is uploaded. Sneha 1 will help you to answer those questions. And today's is Sneha 2, which will help you to answer the questions about the theoretical approach in counseling, where we have the frequently asked questions are mostly person-centered approach is generally asked, psychoanalytical approach, gestalt approach, behavioral therapy. These were already asked, but we never know which one is asked. We never know. This time they may ask transaction analysis or reality therapy or REBT. So the all the theoretical approach which today we discussed in Sneha 2, please share with your friends. Whoever is writing the exams for different universities, this theoretical approach in counseling is a compulsory chapter. So please share this video with more friends, more students into psychology who can get benefit about, if one student is getting clarity of one therapy or one theoretical approach, my time is, today my effort is successful, my team's effort is successful. So now the floor is open for questions. We will take some questions and then close the program. One of you were asking, Shruti, Saujanya, I think Naga, Shailaja, some people were asking questions. If anybody want questions, please ask me. We wait for 5 more minutes. So any questions we can answer. I can just check the...
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, Shruti.
I'm Shruti. Ma'am, how can we know which approach is best for a client?
So basically, last time, if you are there, we spoke about eclectic approach. See, which therapy will be suitable for which client is, again, it is the common sense or it is the intellect of the counselor to select. And one more thing is, eclectic approach is like the combination of best techniques from different therapies and making a new model and giving it to the client. That is called eclectic approach. So I personally follow the eclectic approach, where I use some techniques from REBT, some techniques from CBT, some from art therapy, some from person-centered therapy, so reality therapy. I use different therapies, techniques from different therapies to make into a eclectic approach. But to answer your question, the people who is very clear in their cognitions, the people are the clients who are very good in thinking, CBT will help. The people who are very realistic, who is working in adult ego state and who can take things very positively, in the sense very, nicely, for them, REBT can be helpful. And the client who is very having a lot of inhibitions and who is not opening mouth, who is not expressing the emotions or nothing, and just sitting calm in the session, for them you can use art therapy. Okay, so it changes from client to client and counselor to counselor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shruti.
And I have one more doubt, ma'am.
Yeah.
How to deal with stubborn people?
Stubborn clients?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell me something more? What do you mean by stubborn?
They won't accept anything. They can't realize what he did in their life.
It means you are telling that the client. Repeat, Chema.
If we try to explain them, they didn't listen what is happening around.
So you mean to say more argumentative client or not talking?
Argumentative, ma'am.
Argumentative. See, when the client is argumentative, the counselor need lot of patience. Lot of patience to bring him to the normal state of mind and bring him to the reality that we are not here to argue with you. We are here to help you. Okay, it needs lot of skills from the end of the counselor. You need to learn effective counseling skills to handle that sort of people. And as extreme cases, let us talk extreme cases where the client is very argumentative and not really trying to accept or trying to be with you. For that sort of cases, we can terminate. We can terminate. Termination is we can just tell the client that I'm not going to continue. You can go to other counselor. This is called termination.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Ma'am, we already now in the academic, in this pandemic situations, most of them students are getting depression and in disturbed mood and not interested in studies. So how to motivate them? So which approach or which counseling sessions will be helpful to improve their academics, ma'am, so that we can motivate our children?
Adolescents?
Yes, ma'am.
See, adolescent, actually, as you say, it is not about which approach should be used, but basically we need to first understand that boredom or that restlessness or that whatever depression feelings are natural. Because the situation is like that, where the children are not able to handle, there is a lot of uncertainty, lot of chaos going on, and sometimes they said you go to school, sometimes they said you're not going to school. There is a lot of confusion, lot of uncertainty, and lot of boredom at home. Since 1 year they are sitting at home looking at the parents, and parents are not able to handle the children. It's all very disturbed situation. So these feelings are normal. Don't try to suppress their feelings, and don't try to tell them that you should be normal, you should be normal. They cannot be normal. So here acceptance is very important from the parents' perspective. And here effective parenting techniques are important. Effective activity planning is important for the parents, so that they can engage the child in different forms. So in this summer, in coming May, we are trying to, plan for Balamitra, 21 days program, where every day we have 1 hour session on story. So that story session will be there, and activity will be there, then creative activities will be there, and value inculcation will be there, moral stories. So it's a planned program for 1 hour, which can help the children to just get out of this boredom. So our Manojagriti is planning for 21 days program for the kids from 6 years to 16 years. So this sort of things need to be planned for the children.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. So we have 3 minutes time. I'm just looking at my clock. 6 minutes time. I'll sit for 6 more minutes. Anybody have any questions, you can ask. So somebody asked the question, can we use more than one approach to deal with the client? Yes, 100% you can use more than one approach for one client. As I already explained, it is called eclectic approach, where you can use multiple therapies for a client. Nothing wrong in using it. Yes.
Ma'am, whenever a client comes, we should never put a open-ended questions. So how can we start that rapport, ma'am? That we should to go with that client. So whenever he is a irrational thought, we should never say that it's irrational. So how can we first start him think insight level, ma'am? Is the first starting point.
Okay. Okay. So Kavita, may I ask you? You are a student of psychology.
Yes, ma'am. Very much interested in counseling, ma'am. Very much interested, and very much the way you teach, and is really, we are lucky, ma'am, because in this pandemic also we don't have any classes in the BRO, but through your sessions we are gaining a lot of knowledge, ma'am. Really very thankful to you, ma'am. We are incredible to you.
So you completed your second year psychology?
No, ma'am. Still pursuing.
Pursuing second year or first year?
The second year, ma'am. We just wrote exams in the first year.
Okay, I suggest you to do the internship, because when you really do the internship, you will learn practical skills.
Yes, ma'am.
Practically, you can do the role plays and understand how to start. Sevita, are you there?
I called you, ma'am, that day. You said, when is the internship? I called you, ma'am, one day.
Acha, acha. You can contact me after this. You can contact me or Sevita or Radhika will guide you, because it needs minimum practice to understand these things. But I try to do a small role play for you. Sevita?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. See, please be a very stubborn and indifferent client with me.
Okay, ma'am.
But little louder, better.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Sevita.
Yes.
How can I help you, Sevita?
Don't know, ma'am. What is going through me? Also, I'm not understanding nowadays.
Mm-hmm. So, Sevita, you are telling me that you are not understanding what is going on with you. May I know more about it?
Something like what I'm doing now, where I will go, what I will study.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not understanding anything, ma'am.
So you mean to say a lot of confusion is there in your life?
Yes, ma'am. Means one side I want to study, and one side I don't want to study, and I want to do some different course, like any fashion designing or anything. And in one side I want to study also and settle my life.
Okay. So, Sevita, I heard you telling that you want to do both. You want to go for fashion designing. Also, you want to settle in life, do some job.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
what is happening in your mind?
As I said, I want to do fashion designing, ma'am. And one more side, I want to do my MBA also.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But now I'm not understanding which is good and which is bad.
Right. So how do you feel, Sevita, when you have a lot of confusions in front of you now, not able to, decide where you want to go? So how are you feeling?
I'll feel confused.
Hmm?
Then I'll be like mood off, and I feel what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Not able to take good decision. Now
Okay.
what I should do? And whomever I ask suggestions, they will say like which is good for you, do that.
Okay. So
So
I
that's
heard
why.
you telling that you get mood off and people are giving you free suggestions and you're not liking it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, Sevita, how do you behave when you are into this mood off?
I'll get very much irritated and anger, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll shout on others. Even I'll shout on my family members, parents.
Okay.
Again, they will come and ask me, okay, now decide soon, don't waste time. Then again, I'll get more angry. Array, first of all, I'm very much confused. Again, you're forcing me, putting pressure on me.
So,
Then,
Sevita, I'm just trying to summarize. You said you are confused in the beginning, and you also said that you are getting frustrated and irritation, and anger on
anger.
parents,
Yes,
and your behavior is not expected, and you are shouting and yelling on your parents. And
yes.
you also told me that you are getting mood off.
Mm.
So, in these four things, which one would you like to work today?
Today, anger,
Which one is more bothering you?
anger and irritation, ma'am.
Okay. So, anger and irritation is bothering you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Sevita, how committed you are on a scale of 0 to 100 to work on your anger?
On anger, 100, ma'am.
So, you want to work, your
Completely out.
commitment is 100?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chalo. So, stop. So, Kavita. So this is how you can actually slowly get the client into the process.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So there are so many skills you need to learn. So if you really want to practice, you need minimum of 2 months of internship where you can learn skills, where you can practice counseling or, understand the therapies.
Definitely, ma'am. I do come and visit you, ma'am.
Right.
Your clinic.
Chalo, so our my 6 minutes are already done. So the people who joined late, you can watch the video. It will be uploaded by night. You can watch the video. Okay. So thank you so much. And we'll come up with next week one more Sneha. Till then, thank you so much. Bye-bye. And watch the video, Sneha too. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.